Hey, it's Gordon here with week 42 of 2012, A Year with Mya-Moe Unscripted. And this week the topic is hand voicing. Now the voice of an instrument is its tone, its volume, and its sustain. And we adjust those elements by hand, and we do that in terms of how thick we make the top and the back, how we brace the top and the back, they're braced differently, and also how we shave those braces and sand them to get the final voicing. Now that's very different than a factory-built ukulele. A factory-built instrument is built to blueprints, and it's assuming that all wood is the same and reacts the same. And in fact, not only do different species react differently, but every set of wood is unique, and it's just like people. It's like every set of wood has its own personality. And at Mya-Moe, we think that our job is to understand the personality of the wood fundamentally and help make it be the best that it can be. Not all wood is destined to deliver the loudest or the highest volume or the warmest tone or the brightest tone. So we really try to get an understanding from the beginning, not only of the species of wood and where it tends to go in a tonal spectrum, but every individual piece of wood, we try to understand it. So, the wood starts out from the tree, but as a large piece that's usually an inch or more thick. And the first thing that is done is it's resawn on the bandsaw like this. And then you get these pieces. We've talked about this before, but this is book matching. You can see Camatilla rosewood, how that's going to go together. So at this point, these two pieces of wood have bandsaw marks in them, and they're much thicker than we want to go in the end, almost twice as thick at this point. Not quite, but almost. But even at this point, we can get an idea for the tone of this wood. We can hang it up like this between our fingers lightly and tap on it, and I can hear its resonance, and I can hear the ringing in that wood, and I can hear that it's going to have great sustain and a brilliance about it. So the next thing that happens is these two pieces of wood get joined together. And to show you the result of that, hang on here. Here is some myrtle, and it's been joined. Been joined so well you can't really see the seam in it, but you certainly can see the book match. And we've taken that down after joining. We've removed all the glue from the joining operation, and we've taken it down quite a bit thinner. It's not quite at final thickness, but it's getting a lot closer. And at that point, in my mind, the voicing of it really starts. So the next thing that we do, if it's a top, is we inlay the rosette, and then what we call polish the top. So we get it, the sanding scratches are out, and it's ready to go. We do that before thicknessing because we don't want to be, once we get it thicknessed and voiced properly, we want to be doing as little as possible in terms of wood removal on that top. So the order of operations is extremely critical. So the next thing we do is we thickness this piece of wood. And that's something that's done. We've got an overhead thickness sander. It's very precise, but this is where only experience can help you. I don't think you can really teach someone to do that job or to do it right. They really just have to learn through experience. They have to hear the wood. And our expert in this area is Shar, and she just, she's done nearly 1,000 ukuleles now, and she can hear that piece of wood. She can say, it's going through the sander, and I'm going to send it through again, but I'm not even going to adjust the sander. And I know it's going to take off 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch, and that's it. And we use a very expensive dial caliper that can reach all the way to the inside of this, and in thousandths of an inch, it can measure the thickness. So we make sure that we get it at exactly the profile that we want. And that, in my mind, is the most critical of the operations. Now, the next thing that we do is brace the top or the back. So here's a mahogany top with its bracing. It's just got one fan brace because this is a concert ukulele. Now everybody's bracing pattern is different, or most people's are, and it's why I tell people the ukulele acoustically is a system, and as designers and builders, we take slightly different approaches to the voicing of the instrument, and in particular to the bracing. So for some people, they do their bracing a little bit differently. We found what works for us and for the tone we're looking for, and we optimize that every time. So here we've put on those braces, and again, we can listen to that wood and we can feel it, feel how flexible it is, and that's what we're looking for. The top of the ukulele, it's like the top of a drum. It is the thing that begins sound by moving air that's going to be reflected. That sound is going to be reflected off of the back. So in this case, we put on the braces. This is the bridge plate. We have 2 cross braces and this fan. We have more fans in the larger instruments. And then we shave the braces. And both Shar and Aaron do that. I think Aaron has become our expert in the brace shaving. And it's really the final part of voicing, and it is just taking little bits of material off that brace. We don't want to compromise the integrity of the top and of the instrument, but we do want to get it flexible. So it is something, again, that only time and experience really deliver to you. Now I thought I'd bring along this piece of cedar. This was the cutoff from a top, so it had already been thicknessed and it was cut off. And I'm just going to show you how flexible that is, and in fact how easily it breaks without bracing. But what you want out of that top is that, right? You've got to get it thin enough that it's going to flex with string tension, and it's going to send that air and the sound to the back, and it's going to be reflected off. But without bracing, that's what happens. So it's really cool, I think, that really most people, I think, approach fundamentally the design in the same way, which is to get the top as thin as possible and then add structure through your bracing. But isn't it cool how thin that gets? That's about 62, 63 thousandths of an inch, plus or minus 5 thousandths, depending upon, or maybe even a little more than that, depending upon the wood. Cedar we take not quite as thin, something like myrtle, koa, mango, we can take thinner. Anyway, that gives you an idea of what hand voicing is, and I think it's really, in the end, one of the primary reasons why you buy a custom-made instrument versus a factory instrument is that you want an instrument that has been voiced, and you're really buying the ear and the tone of that luthier or set of luthiers. Anyway, that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.